if you went back 5 years from today and make different decisions, different choices, and maybe even perhaps at a higher level, a higher frequency, follow through, and you just leveled up your game, might you be further ahead than you are today? The name of this Rise Up today is called Presenting, and it refers to the past of your future.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Great morning, world. This is your boy, Dragon, and welcome to another Rise Up with Dragon. Just as a reminder, it is the goal of this podcast to remove the blindfolds of your program mind and widen your field of consciousness so the full spectrum of your great potential becomes available to you. We do this with our podcast, our live streams, our weekly blog, which we call Dragon's Lair, One from the Vault, which you can subscribe to at riseupwithdragon.com, as well as our upcoming online courses and books. So welcome to another Rise Up with Dragon. Today's Rise Up is, I just love it. I just love, this topic because it's constantly on my mind. And for those of you that know, we run this international coaching company. So we're working with so many people, thousands of people that are all in different variations of being stuck and tapping into this idea of how do I break free? How do I get out of my own way and all that stuff? So that's a topic that I speak about all the time. So therefore, this is one of those break free moments. And the name of this Rise Up today is called Presenting, and it refers to the past of your future. And I'll get into that in 1 second. But I had this thought about today's, the majority of people that are following the Rise Up with Dragon podcast. And by the way, big shout out and thank you. And thanks to all of you that send me, positive stuff as well as negative stuff. And, I get books in the mail and dragons and chickens and all that stuff. But we're going to probably close in on having 100,000 downloads by a month by early 2022, which is just amazing. So I just want to give a shout out and thank you. And I remember when I was coming up in podcasting and success for that matter, I remember I was tracking other people, or I would find some podcast like a Joe Rogan or something like that. And I would go way back into the archives before they were famous. And I do that still with some people. So I'm going to speak to the person that is in that headspace, that's following me along and watching me progress and grow. Because remember, the first time I did a Rise Up with Dragon, I think it was just me that showed up. And now we're pushing at 100,000 top, 1% of the world in podcasts, So if you're interested in that, I just want to give you what I call a Dragon Tracker and a reality check. I want to speak to you because nobody ever spoke to me when I was tracking them. I was just kind of going back and saying how did they get a break? What was it? What's their structure, and why did everybody start following them? When I find somebody on a YouTube channel or some sort of an influencer on Instagram or whatever, I love to go way, way back on TikTok and find out when it happened, right? So it's happening for me right now, and I already know where I'm going to go because I've made the conscious decision, and I've made a quality conscious decision that I'm not going to quit. So it's a guarantee. Unless I die, of course, I'm going to succeed at this. This is going to be a big thing. So just as a reality check, where I'm at right now, so I'm in a very big state of gratitude. I'm still thoroughly enjoying this. I have upped my game. I've upped my game with I've got a Rodecaster Pro now and better mics and all that stuff. When I first started, I was just doing it with some cheap mic. Tim Ferriss taught me how to get started in just a second. So I've got some better equipment, so I've invested in it. I'm also in school right now at KMG Academy, which is in Colorado. And give a shout out to Bella Beats if you want to go learn. That's Drew Dugan. He's my master. But I'm actually learning how to DJ and produce audio. So that's another thing as a reality check, because I want to just get further into that. Chicken and I's business, our coaching company, is flourishing, and it's international now. So we've got that income stream. So for those of you that are going to get it, I just want you to know that we have found a way to increase our income and our financial freedom outside of podcasting, right? So I never relied on making money off of podcasting, but I've been building this dragon brand elsewhere. But the latest thing that I'm doing, just as a tracker, just as a reality check, because the money is flowing more now, so I'm investing in myself, always trying to live off of 20% of my income. That's what all the greats say. That's another thing, is I just listen to the greats. So what I'm doing with the money that I have is I'm investing it back into this. So I'm hiring, people to help me with SEO, and I've got a virtual assistant that's doing all my social media and all that stuff. So I just wanted to give you a check on that, because as we move to the next phase of this, because I'm not going to quit and I'm all in, I want you to know that I didn't just get lucky at it. Right. So and that leads perfectly into today's Rise Up presenting. But I just wanted to speak to that person that is kind of following along, because I'm getting a lot of feedback that people are following along a lot. Very often we have a couple of episodes that, 30,000 people listen to, or 30,000 listens. I don't even know what that means. So we're getting a lot of feedback of people that are following along. So I just wanted you to have the ability to get a little bit of reality check. I'll do that every now and then. So welcome to my Rise Up, one of my daily Rise Ups. Been doing them every day for almost 15 years. So you can look forward to some cool books coming out on that. But this is called Presenting the Past of Your Future. So it starts with a question. And I ask this question to myself, and I ask it to a lot of my coaches, my clients, and just people that I meet. When I come off stage and somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, great talk, man. I was really motivated by you." I always say, "What are you going to do about it?" Right? I'm all about action, because we all know that nobody will ever tell me that they'll succeed without action. So I love to ask this question. So I'll ask this question to you. Things that make you go, right? So my question is this: if you went back, really think about this. If you went back 5 years from today and like go back to 5 years, physically, mentally, financially, look at your reality and the level of engagement in your activities and all that, and physically, mentally, and financially. If you were to go back 5 years and make different decisions, different choices, and maybe even perhaps at a higher level, a higher frequency, follow through and not stop, right? When whatever happened, the happenings, you responded differently and you just leveled up your game, might you be further ahead than you are today? So of course the answer is yes. I've never found anybody. Every now and then you'll find an ego-driven person that says, "Oh, I could never do better." And I just say, okay, I understand, but we can all do better. But for the most part, I would say 99% of people are living a mediocre life, right? So of course, if you could go back 5 years from now, you'd and make different choices, level up and follow through, you'd be better or farther ahead. So now, can you now go 5 years into the future? Now, we talk a lot about goal setting and goal getting and dreaming big and living in the future, leading from the future, acting in the now. So now I want you to go into the future 5 years from now. And remember, the degree to which you can go into the future and not just like name it, but see it and feel it, like a little kid that wants a puppy dog or a bike or something like that. Can you now go 5 years into the future and look back from there and see that this day right now that is upon you is that day that I'm going to ask you about in 5 years? So that's what the topic is about. Most people are going to quit today because they didn't go into action 5 years ago and they say, what the fuck, who cares, right? What I'm telling you is that today is 5 years ago in relation to 5 years from now. So let's get into this. This is very, very dragon-esque stuff. And I hope you love this stuff. By the way, we're streaming this live only now. For those of you that listen only on the podcast, you can find me on Instagram, and also, and we always put that in the intro on the videos. You can find this on YouTube, Rise Up with Dragon. You can find it on Instagram. LinkedIn, and then also the Rise Up with Dragon fan page. So if you want to watch the videos, you're just listening, because I know way more people listen to this than watch the videos. Follow me there, and we'd love your feedback. Anytime you see one of these videos on LinkedIn, YouTube, or the Facebook page, please give me feedback. I'd love to hear what your opinion is. Did it make sense to you? That's where I get my pleasure. So you get the idea. So this is a fun concept, and it slips by most people as they oscillate between living in their past and projecting their future. Now think about that for a second. Think about the two oscillations and those extremes of living in the past and then also projecting your future. Neither of those strategies have movement and action steps, as they are mental projections, the past and the future. Now we have different degrees of ability to like make those mental projections real, but there's no action around dreaming and things like that. And also learning, right? There's no action. There's an action step of going somewhere in your mind or reading a book, but I'm talking about the kind of action that supports manifesting that into reality. So neither of those strategies have movement and action steps, as they are both mental projections not supported with action that leverages things. So funny to think, like, as if you could go into action and leverage a new past. But what's interesting about that is I think a lot of you try to do that. A lot of you try to go into the past. Like, think about it. If you continue to go into your past, what are you trying to do? Especially if it's a shitty past, do you just want to relive it over and over and over again? Or to a certain degree, can you catch yourself hoping that it happens differently when you go back? I would recommend doing drugs if you want to have your past change, because you would just change your perception of it. Or in the interface response system, I teach people to go back into their past and just create a different perception of it, right? How did it serve you and things like that. So we're becoming more conscious of our ineffective tendencies to view the future, through the lens of our past. Very, very inefficient way of projecting the future. Because if you view the future through the lens of the past, you're limiting your ability to see the future based on the programming that your past has created that tells you what you can or can't do, or what's possible or what's not. So that's why we can't view the future through the lens of the past. In effect, because the past is no longer something that applies in the future. Even if the past has given you something and a blessing, it still no longer applies in the future. So I like to have people, start projecting the future, recognizing that the place that you're projecting it from, which we call the present, is the past of the future, not the past of the present, right? So your past very often does not apply more than not in the future. So there's no inherent value in letting the concepts, thoughts, and feelings from the past be shot callers of the future projection. So that's one thing, that's one insight. Although we must recognize with gratitude, this is why a lot of people defend the past. A lot of people will argue with me, which I always listen to. By the way, if you're arguing with me, it's not an argument, because I'm not going to fight back. I'm just going to listen. So for those of you that want to have an argument with me, I'm just going to listen to you. So unbeknownst to you, if you're looking for an argument, it's not going to be an argument, because I'm not going to respond with conflict. I'm just going to listen. So that's what it'll end up being. So although we must recognize with gratitude, the past has played a crucial role in bringing us to the present moment. Remember, gratitude is the superhighway to the present moment. Gratitude doesn't exist in the future or the past. So in a state of gratitude, very often I will be in gratitude for things that So for blessings that have happened for me in the past, good or bad, they've all brought me to this place. If I have gratitude for this present moment for anything, then I also have to have gratitude for the past. There's an interesting idea. So the experiences and lessons learned in the past are all manifested in our current reality. You are a reflection of your past. Now, an interesting thing to think about right there is if we say that we're a reflection of our past in our present moment right now, we can also say that our present moment is a projection of our future, right? So there's the inflection point right there. Are you a projection of your future, or is your past a projection of your future and your capabilities? So my suggestion, my encouragement is to recognize that your current reality is the projection of the future, not your past reality. And you get to decide how much of your past you bring in. And I'll get into that a little. So who we are today is a reflection of our past, yet what we must become aware that we get to decide what goes, what gets in, and what doesn't, what goes, what stays. What's useful, so if we're in a state of gratitude and we're looking at our past, what's useful and what no longer applies? That's the control. That's the choice that we have right there, is we get to look at things that happen for us and we get to decide what goes, what stays. So, if you're getting ready to walk across, here's a cool analogy that I love to use, because very often analogies help people get things. Just like when you read the book, The Secret, you all got the law of attraction that's been around longer than us. So if you're getting ready to walk across the country, like say on the Appalachian Trail, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's something that goes from, I believe it starts in Atlanta and it goes all the way to Maine. It's a long walk. I think it takes like 6 weeks to do. Something on my bucket list, but I don't know if I want to take 6 weeks to do it because I've got that, immortal mentality, right? Or mortality mentality. So I don't know if I want to take 6 weeks and go on a journey like that. I'll just go on the journey of life. But if you're getting ready to walk across and take this Appalachian Trail or just do some sort of Forrest Gump thing, you're going to be forced, because you're walking, you're going to be forced to, and this is what they had to do in the Army all the time, to decide what it is that you're going to put in your backpack. Now, there's a couple reasons that you have to contemplate that. For one thing, if you put too much stuff in it, even if it fits and it gets heavy, that's going to be a struggle, right? You're going to be carrying a bag of rocks around. That's not good for a six week walk, unless you're trying to build leg strength or something. So as it gets heavier, you start to see why so many struggle with allowing the past to come along with them. So that's the idea of carrying excess baggage. It weighs you down. And it begins to hinder. Now, most of the time, excess baggage is a mental thing, but for this matter, I'm actually looking at our backpack. So you could look at your backpack as the vehicle that you've made a decision to go forward with. Like, how much stuff? Are you in a plane with too much weight for liftoff right now? So how much room do you have in your backpack? Also, here's another idea. How much room do you have in your backpack for new things that you're going to find along the way that might be useful? Very often in life, when you're taking the past along with you and you're taking too much, unconsciously, you're unaware of the fact that you haven't left any room for something new. So when something new comes up, you'll be more inclined to say it doesn't fit, or you'll have to make this big decision of what will I let go for it, which is what most people do. So it's interesting, this idea of living like a minimalist, which is what Chicken and I do. It's not just about getting rid of anything that doesn't matter in our lives. That's a big focus of it, getting rid of the people and the things that don't matter, don't support where we're going, all that stuff. But it's also about making room for growth. Is there room for growth in your mind and in your body? Right? Do you even have the extra space and time to fit in an action step that will grow? Most people are trying to to, build an airplane in the sky or teach a goldfish to climb a tree. But most people are trying to like find out the success formula. Do you have space for the success formula? I meet a lot. I teach thousands of people how to build a successful home-based business that's built around the things that matter most. It's a dream life. And they come to me and of course they want that. They want to make more money in less time. But then I say, okay, well, we're going to have to put like an hour or two at least into this a day. And they go, I don't have any time for that. So very often in life, we want to go on the walk, but we won't go on the walk because the bag is too heavy to walk. So just understand, you got to lean up, you got to lean up. And, all the smartest people tell you that, if you want to become wealthy, the wealthy people don't spend money on the way up. They save it, right? So allowing the past to come along often manifests in the form of battle wounds as well and scars. So that's that mental baggage that we take that carry a perception of permanence. Now, I want you to really grab that. I was really fired up when I said that. I don't know where I got that. This stuff just comes to me. I would assume when I'm journaling and I come up with something that I say, the perception of permanence. I didn't Google that, but I would assume the way the human brain works is I heard it from something or someone. But this is really cool. The perception of permanence. In other words, concepts. That's what the perception of permanence. It's a perception that's based on you being rigid and maintaining some of the things that you've decided are permanence in your life, your core values or something like that. I see a lot of people out there taking a stance for something that most people would look at and say, that's insane. But the reason why they're justifying their stance is because they've in a rigid way taken their past core values, which by the way, were taught to them by somebody else, right? And that's their perception of permanence, right? So letting go of the past seems difficult. And here's why letting go of the past seems difficult. Now, remember, this is all about recognizing that today is 5 years in the past of 5 years from now. And if you figure that out and you go into full action today, you're going to meet yourself 5 years from now and high five and be like, hey, thanks, great idea, right? So back to the perception of permanence. So letting go of the past seems difficult as it presents the idea of letting go of who you are. That's why letting go of the past, if you're living in the past, it's so difficult because the idea of letting go of the past for most of you is letting go of who you are. And most people are not ready to do that. And you know how I feel about people that say they're not ready. I always say, well, when are you going to be ready? And can you guarantee you'll have that opportunity? Right? So there's a little tip. If you're not ready right now to accept the things that are being offered to you, like if I'm offering you the ability to get physically, mentally, and financially well, and you need that, but you say, I'm not ready, I want you to just in that moment say, when will I be ready? And will the opportunity still be there? Will I be breathing that day? So that's why it's important to figure these things out and find out how to get ready when you have opportunities to get ready. And that's what you all have right now. So letting go is tough because it's letting go of who you are. So at least who you were told to be, right? Who you are, I just want you to recognize that who you are is who you were told that you are. And remember, that comes from your MFTPS, your mother, father, teacher, preacher, and society, because you've been consuming those things. Society is telling you who you are if you're paying attention to it. Now, a lot of people get pissed off when they hear this, but Chicken and I, since we've met, we stopped watching the news. Now, I've stopped watching the news a long time ago, and a lot of people yell at me. But the only reason I've done that is because I don't want the news to depict who I am. If I pick the wrong channel that's on this side or that side. And by the way, I thought about this. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a news channel that only had good things, good news TV? Maybe that would be just as bad because that would create this illusion, this fantasy that there's only one side, only good. So we just decided to not allow external forces and people. We're very picky about it. We pan for gold in life. to get into our lives, our inner sanctum, where we'll actually allow you to impact us, you have to go through a process, and you can create that process. And if you want to learn more about that, go back and listen to my podcast called The Bouncer. So anyway, the mother, father, teacher, preacher, is basically, telling you who you are. And, but there's also this idea of who you decided to be and buy in, based on all that experience. So there's some powerful people in our lives that somehow get the ability to convince us of things. So a culmination of the past is basically that reflection. So you can see why Chicken and I, back to the minimalist thing, have become passionate minimalists. It's about removing things from our backpacks, right? Getting us in a place where we can project today as the 5 years in the past of 5 years from now, getting rid of things in our backpacks. Now, there's a concept of living in the future that's very attractive. So remember, if you're living in the extreme of living in the past or projecting the future, right? There's a cool concept that I learned from one of my mentors I want to share with you. And it's basically considered what he refers to, and I've bought into fully, is it's a habit of transformational leadership. And it was created, as far as I know, by my mentor. His name's Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson. Unbelievable man. One of the very few people that get Dragon to shut up. Chicken and him. It offers the concept of looking at your desired future state. Remember, in the beginning, we said, look at yourself 5 years from now. Looking at your desired future state and getting to know it so well that you can actually feel what it is like to be in it. Attached to that is because once you go there and you feel what it's like and you know how good it is, first of all, secret, you're not in the past, right? You're living in a future moment, say 5 years from now, and you're attaching everything, not only what the scale says or what the bank account says, but how you feel and how your life has changed. And you start to say, wow, I can feel it, man, that's exciting. So all of a sudden you're living in the future, you're leading from the future, but then it has to be attached to acting the part of your future self in the now. So it's called leading from the future, acting in the now. Now that's a formula for success. Right? Now, what would prevent you from doing that is buying into the past, because the past would teach you that that's not possible. Hey, let's be realistic. That's a little obsessive. Take it easy, right? Oh, I love this stuff. So acting that part of your future self in the now is like where the success is. But if you don't know what that future state is, then you won't be able to do that. So this is super, super powerful, as it brings you back to dreaming, right? And offers the idea of shedding your past and living and acting like your future self in the now. To become, act as if. What it is that you want to become, how does that person act? If somebody gives that person shit, how do they respond? Is your response system right now the same as theirs? To become, act as if, there is power to that, right? And there's no acting. You're just choosing to do things that are in support of that future state. Now, remember, I asked you if you could go back 5 years from now with your current consciousness and act like your current self back then. You'd make better choices, you'd follow through. So you see, that's the opportunity you have right now. Does this make sense to you? I'd love to get your feedback on this. So this push-pull of shedding your past that no longer applies and bringing your future into reality by acting the part seems to be the proverbial tug of war in most of your lives, right? So my hypothesis, and we're coming to the end, my hypothesis is that it's all part of the experience. And although we're prompted to shed our no longer applicable past and lead from the future, without our past, we wouldn't be who we are. That's looking into the future. So there's the gratitude part. So it's all good. And when I say it's all good, I just want you to know that there's no perfection in starting to live consciously, right? And I'll share with you transparently. I woke up this morning, I'm kind of past jet lag now, but I woke up this morning And I was just focused on something that bummed me out. So I woke up this morning and my first instinct before I went into my structure was I was living in the past, something that happened. Now, I could get down on myself for that, or I could just say, makes sense. That's what I do most of the time. And those are the thoughts and feelings I have most of the time. So then what I did is I responded to that by asking myself a simple question: where am I going? And how does that person respond to this situation? And then I went into structure. So my morning routine, for those of you that have a morning routine, is that the morning routine that advocates for your future self? If your future self came back and checked out your morning routine, assessing whether or not it was going to leverage becoming who your future self is, would they give it a check? Would they give it an okay? I love living like that. That's a really cool way to live. So, and then I said, however, the purpose of this message is to introduce the concept that I mentioned in the beginning, that we often overlook. Today will be tomorrow's past. Today. Tomorrow, you're going to be invited to let go of today. You're going to hopefully see the blessings and how today happened for tomorrow, but that's what's going to happen tomorrow. But we're not in tomorrow right now. We're in today, and today is a projected possibility and an opportunity to create tomorrow. So how we act today is going to play a big role in tomorrow, but also it's going to help us reflect back and say, yeah, thank you. Thank you, yesterday version of me, for what you did, because you've moved me forward. So our actions today, whether living in the past or the future, are foregoing our reality tomorrow that's powerful to embrace, right? So who we be today will be who we are tomorrow. Present time power is not to be overlooked, as this day and your commitment to it are not only about winning, but creating a new reality for yourself that you can't see. You can't see how big you could be tomorrow if you go into full action today. You can just assume, but remember that assumption is limited to what you have been taught. So you don't even know how good it is. It's way better. I can tell you, to all those people that have doubted me and tried to put me down and shame me, and I understand why they would do that along my journey of going to get it. They would do that to validate themselves. I've done that to others as well. But to all those people, you wonder, like, from where I sit, I heard Ed Milet talk about this the other day. From where I sit right now, you'd think that I would love to go back and say, hey, look at me now and stuff like that. But the truth is that where I am now is like 20,000 times better than I thought it would be. It's so much better. They wouldn't even believe it. So I don't need to say nah to them, but if I could go back 5 years ago and try to explain how good this is, that person that version of me wouldn't understand it. So next week, you're all gonna recognize how this day played into that reality, and then I'm gonna ask you to let it go. So are you leading from the future and acting in the now, or will you look back at the end of this day being another reason why you're not further ahead next week? Things that make you go, Hey, have a spectacular day. Remember, if you learned something today, give it away, share this, go teach someone something about it. Please go rate and review our podcast. It's really, really helping us escalate this whole movement. I'm excited to tell you that I've booked 8 really special guests, because now that we're getting a little bit cooler, right? People are starting to, that used to say no to us, are starting to come on our podcast. That's another dragon tracker. You're going to start seeing people that are validating that we've, become somebody, all because of hard work and consistency, and also your support. But please go give us that rating, share it. I really hope that you enjoy it. We're about to load 8 more podcasts onto that episode. You got the guests coming up. And also, I'll just give you a little bit of a taste. The book is coming out soon. That's really amazing. The online course is almost done, but also Chicken and I are about to launch a clothing line that is going to blow everybody's mind. And it's just going to come out of nowhere, and everybody's going to say, what a great idea. And it's just going to be awesome. So if anybody's interested in getting involved in a clothing line that really has world-changing potential, give me a shout out, because we're always interested in partnering with people that know what they're doing. So love and appreciate you all. Have an amazing day. And just thank you so much for the blessing of having this opportunity to share with you today. Love you. Bye-bye.